Hello, everyone. So welcome back to English in Advance. My name is Jessica, and I am so glad you've decided to join me for today's deep dive session. Here at English in Advance, our goal is to move beyond the textbook and into the real, living, breathing world of English. We post new, in-depth lessons every single day, all designed to help you build the fluency and confidence you need to truly express yourself. Today, we are going to embark on a journey together, a journey to conquer one of the biggest challenges that nearly every English learner faces: understanding fast native English speakers. I want you to take a moment and think, have you ever been in a situation where you're watching a movie you're really excited about and the actors start talking so quickly that the words just seem to melt into a single confusing sound? Or perhaps you've tried to follow a conversation on a podcast or a YouTube video, and you find yourself constantly hitting the rewind button, trying to catch what was said. Maybe you've even had a real-life conversation with a native speaker. You felt prepared, you knew your vocabulary, you knew your grammar. But when they started speaking at their natural pace, it felt like trying to drink water from a fire hose. You nod, you smile, but inside you feel completely lost, and the feeling of frustration begins to build. If any of this sounds familiar, I want you to know, first and foremost, you are absolutely not alone. This experience is a universal rite of passage for English learners, and it is not a sign of your failure. It's a sign that you have reached a new level in your journey, a level where you're ready to engage with English as it's truly spoken. Fast, natural English can feel incredibly overwhelming, like a wall you just can't seem to climb. But I'm here to tell you that this wall is not as solid as it seems. In fact, it's made up of understandable patterns, rhythms, and connections. The good news, the truly wonderful news, is that with the right knowledge, the right techniques, and consistent daily practice, you can train your ears and your brain. You can learn to decode this rapid stream of sound and begin to understand native-level English with a sense of ease and naturalness you might not think is possible right now. In our masterclass today, we are going to do so much more than just give you a few quick tips. We are going to deconstruct fast English piece by piece. We will explore the hidden secrets of real-life conversations. We'll look at detailed examples. I'll guide you through powerful, practical exercises that you can start using today. And we'll build a daily routine that will help you recognize the magic of connected speech, feel the natural rhythm of a sentence, and catch all those little words that seem to disappear. By the end of our time together today, you will possess a complete toolkit, a set of strategies and a new mindset that will empower you to break through that speed barrier once and for all. You will leave this session feeling more confident, more capable, and more prepared to step into any conversation. Before we dive into the very heart of our lesson, if this is the kind of in-depth learning you're looking for, please take a moment to subscribe to our channel, English in Advance, and be sure to hit that little bell icon. That way, you'll never miss out on our daily lessons that are designed to guide you on your path to fluency. So, find a comfortable spot, grab a notebook and a pen, because you'll want to take notes. And let's begin this journey together. Trying to understand fast native English speakers can often feel like you're standing on a train platform, and the express train you need to catch just thunders past without stopping. You hear a rush of noise, a blur of motion, but you can't make out any of the individual carriages. In a conversation, you hear the sounds, but they all blend together into an incomprehensible stream. You might catch a word here and there, but words get skipped. Entire sentences seem to run into one another, and just when you think you've finally grasped a piece of meaning, you realize the conversation has already moved 2 or 3 steps ahead. This is a deeply frustrating experience, and it's one that almost every single English learner encounters when they graduate from the slow, carefully articulated English of a classroom to the messy, beautiful, and fast-paced English of the real world. But here is the fundamental truth that I want you to hold on to throughout our lesson today. Fast English isn't some impossible code designed to confuse you. It's simply different. It operates on a different set of rules than the formal, written English you might be used to. Native speakers, when they speak comfortably with one another, have a certain music to their language. They speak with a rhythm, a flow. They use contractions not because they're lazy, but because it's efficient and natural. They link words together, creating smooth connections where you might expect sharp breaks. They often reduce or even skip sounds that, to them, seem unimportant for the core message. And above all, they speak with emotion, with varying speed, and with a tone that carries as much meaning as the words themselves. So what you need to bridge this gap isn't just more vocabulary flashcards or more grammar drills. While those things are important, they are not the key to this specific problem. What you truly need is a new kind of training. You need guided exposure to this new sound. You need a conscious awareness of what is actually happening within that stream of speech. And you need consistent, focused practice. And that is precisely what we are going to build together today. Let's begin by pulling back the curtain and understanding why native speakers sound so incredibly fast. It's not a conscious choice to be difficult. It's the natural, unconscious evolution of a living language. When people are fluent and comfortable in any language, their speech becomes a model of efficiency. The brain and the mouth work together to find the shortest, smoothest path to convey a message. This is where words begin to connect. For instance, think about the simple question, "What are you doing?" In a textbook, it's 4 distinct words. But in a casual conversation, a native speaker will almost certainly blend it. It might sound like, "What you doing?" Tior. The what and are and you merge into a single unit, whatcha. Similarly, "I am going to call him" transforms into "I'm gonna call him." Going to becomes gonna, and the H in him disappears. These are not mistakes. They are shortcuts. Natural pathways that make conversation flow like a river instead of a series of disconnected drops of water. The reason this is so challenging is that your brain has been trained to listen for the individual words, what, are, you. When it hears the blended form whatcha, it doesn't have a file for that sound. It doesn't recognize it, even though you know all the component words. Your brain has to pause, try to decode it, and by that time, the speaker is already on to the next sentence. Beyond these connections, native speakers use stress and intonation to paint a picture with their words. English is what linguists call a stress-timed language. This is a crucial concept. It means that the rhythm of a sentence is determined by the stressed words, not by the number of syllables. Think of it like a drum beat. The important words, the content words like nouns, main verbs, adjectives, and adverbs, get the beat. The less important words, the function words like prepositions, articles, and pronouns, are squeezed in between the beats. They get rushed, reduced, and often swallowed. For example, in the sentence, "The books are on the top of the shelf," the words books, top, and shelf will get the stress and be pronounced clearly. The other words, the, are, on, the, of, the, will be spoken very quickly and without emphasis. A learner listening for every word with equal importance will get lost in that rhythm. Furthermore, the same sentence can have vastly different meanings depending on which word is stressed. Consider this simple statement: "I didn't say he stole the money." Listen to how the meaning changes completely just by moving the stress. If I say, "I didn't say he stole the money," it implies that someone else said it. If I say, "I didn't say he stole the money," it implies I might have suggested it in another way, perhaps by writing it. If I say, "I didn't say he stole the money," it implies I think someone else stole it. And if I say, "I didn't say he stole the money," it implies he stole something else. So you see, understanding fast English is not just about hearing all the words. It's a much more sophisticated skill. It's about learning to hear the music, to catch the rhythm, to feel the stress, and to recognize the patterns that native speakers use unconsciously every single day. Before we dive into the specific techniques you can use to train your ears, I want to take a few minutes to explore what's actually happening inside your brain when you listen to a fast-moving conversation. Understanding a little bit about the neuroscience and psychology of listening can be incredibly empowering because it helps you see that your struggles are not personal failings, but predictable cognitive challenges. When you listen to language, your brain uses two types of processes working together: bottom-up processing and top-down processing. Bottom-up processing is like building with Lego bricks without the instruction manual or the picture on the box. Your ears pick up raw sounds. Your brain identifies those sounds as phonemes, groups them into syllables, combines those syllables into words, and then tries to assemble those words into a meaningful sentence. For a native speaker, this process is incredibly fast and automatic, but for a learner, it's slow, conscious, and requires a huge amount of mental energy. You have to actively decode every single sound, and if a sound is unclear, reduced, or connected in an unfamiliar way, the whole construction process can fall apart. Fast native speech is a nightmare for purely bottom-up processing because the sounds are often not the clean, perfect sounds you learned in a textbook. Now, top-down processing is the opposite. It's like having the beautiful picture on the front of the Lego box. You use your existing knowledge of the world, the context of the conversation, your understanding of the topic, and your familiarity with the speaker to predict what is likely to be said. You use this bigger picture to help you make sense of the individual sounds and words. Native speakers rely heavily on top-down processing. If they miss a word or two because someone coughed or a car drove by, it doesn't matter. Their brain uses the context to fill in the blank almost instantly, and they often don't even realize they missed anything. For example, if someone says, "I'm going to get some milk," your brain instantly fills in the blank with store or supermarket because of the context. The problem for English learners is that when they listen to fast speech, their brains get completely overwhelmed with the bottom-up processing. All of your cognitive resources are being used just to identify the sounds and words. There's no mental energy left for the top-down processing, for thinking about context, predicting, or inferring meaning. This is why you can sometimes understand every single word in a sentence, but still have no idea what it means. You've assembled the bricks, but you don't know what you've built. The goal of all the exercises we're going to talk about today is to build what psychologists call automaticity. We want to train your brain to handle the bottom-up processing, recognizing sounds, connections, and common chunks, so automatically and effortlessly that it frees up your precious mental energy to focus on the top-down processing of meaning, context, and the overall message. It's also crucial to acknowledge the reality of listening fatigue. Listening to a foreign language, especially when it's fast, is one of the most mentally draining activities you can do. Your brain is working incredibly hard. If you feel exhausted after a 30-minute conversation or after watching an hour-long movie in English, that is completely normal. It's a sign that you are pushing your brain and creating new connections. So be kind to yourself. It's much more effective to have short, focused, high-intensity listening practice sessions of 15 to 20 minutes than to try and force yourself to listen for 2 hours when you're already tired. Quality over quantity is the key. And finally, let's talk about the emotional barrier. There's a well-known concept in language acquisition called the affective filter. The idea is that when a learner is feeling anxious, stressed, or self-conscious, a metaphorical filter goes up in their brain. This filter can literally block information from getting in and being processed. When you're in a conversation and you start to panic because you're not understanding, that anxiety actually makes your listening ability worse. The fear of not understanding creates a self-fulfilling prophecy. I once had a student, let's call him Alex, who was brilliant in our one-on-one classes, but in group meetings at his job, he would freeze. He told me that as soon as his boss started speaking quickly, a wave of panic would wash over him, his heart would race, and his mind would just go blank. He was so focused on the fear of not understanding that he couldn't understand anything at all. The key for him was learning to manage that anxiety. We worked on simple breathing exercises he could do before a meeting. We reframed his goal from, "I must understand every word," to, "My goal is to understand the main action items for my team." By lowering the pressure, he lowered his affective filter, and his comprehension improved dramatically. So as you practice, remember to be a compassionate coach to yourself, not a harsh critic. Your mindset is just as important as your methods. Now let's dive deeper into the single biggest reason why fast English sounds so challenging. Let's talk about connected speech. This is the technical term for all the ways that words bump into each other and change their sounds in a natural sentence. When people speak quickly and conversationally, they don't produce a series of perfectly separated words like you see on a written page. Instead, the end of one word flows seamlessly into the beginning of the next. There are several ways this happens, and we're going to break them down one by one with extensive examples. The first and most common type of connection is called linking, or catenation. This is when a word ending in a consonant sound is followed by a word beginning with a vowel sound. The consonant sound essentially jumps over to the next word, making them sound like one. For example, take the phrase, an apple. We don't say an apple. We say an apple. The N sound from an links directly to the A sound of apple. Let's try another one. Turn off the light. In natural speech, this becomes turn off the light. The N from turn links to the O from off. Let's do a little practice together. I want you to listen and then repeat after me. trying to make that smooth connection. Ready? Get on. It becomes giton. Let's try it in a sentence. I need to get on the bus. Another example. Read it. It becomes read it. I need to read it for class. This simple linking happens everywhere in English, and once you start listening for it, you will hear it constantly. Let's try a few more. Stop it becomes stow pit. Try it, stow pit. Feel it becomes feel it. Repeat after me. I can feel it. Tell us becomes tell us. Try it. Can you tell us the story? The more you practice producing these links, the more easily your ear will recognize them when you hear them. Sometimes, when one word ends in a vowel and the next word also begins with a vowel, native speakers will insert a tiny, almost invisible sound to make the transition smoother. This is called intrusion. We might add a small Y sound, which linguists write as J, or a small W sound, written as W. For example, in the phrase, he asked, to avoid the awkward pause between he and asked, we naturally insert a little I sound. It sounds like he asked. Listen closely. I asked. Let's practice. I asked becomes I asked. She answered becomes she answered. The end becomes the end. Similarly, if a word ends in a vowel sound like oo or o, we often insert a small W sound. For example, go out. It becomes go out. Let's practice that. You go becomes you go. Go on becomes go on. Do it becomes do it. Try that one. Just do it. Recognizing these tiny intrusive sounds is a high-level skill, but it helps explain why sometimes you hear a sound that isn't actually written in the words. Now let's talk about assimilation. This sounds complicated, but the idea is simple. Sometimes a sound at the end of a word will change to become more like the sound at the beginning of the next word. It's like the sounds are blending together to make them easier to say quickly. A very common example is the phrase, did you? The D sound at the end of did and the Y sound at the beginning of you often blend together to create a J sound, like in the word judge. So, did you eat becomes did you eat? Listen again. Did you eat? Let's try repeating that. Did you eat? Another one is would you? It becomes would you. Would you like some tea? This also happens with T and U, which often creates a ch sound like in cheese. For example, I'll meet you there becomes I'll meet you there. Let's practice that one. I'll meet you there. Don't you know becomes don't you know. Assimilation can also happen with other sounds. For example, the phrase 10 bikes. It's easier to say 10 bikes because the M sound is closer in mouth position to the B sound. Or green paint might sound like green paint. This is a more subtle form, but it's happening all the time in fast speech. Finally, there's elision. This is when we drop or delete a sound completely to make a phrase easier to say. This usually happens to T and D sounds when they are caught between two other consonant sounds. For example, in the phrase next door, it's quite difficult to pronounce the T clearly, so most native speakers will simply drop it, saying next door. Listen. My friend lives next door. Another one is I must go. This becomes I must go. The T vanishes. The D sound in and is also frequently dropped, especially when it comes before another consonant. Rock and roll becomes rock and roll. Bread and butter becomes bread and butter. A T sound at the very end of a word is also often dropped, especially in American English, if the next word begins with a consonant. I can't see might sound like I can see, with the meaning conveyed by the length of the A vowel in the context. This can be very confusing for learners. Other sounds can be dropped too. For example, the V in OF is often dropped before a consonant, so cup of tea becomes cuppa tea. These four processes, linking, intrusion, assimilation, and elision, are the building blocks of connected speech. They are the reason why a sentence can sound so different from how it's written. Let's try a simple listening practice to put it all together. I'm going to say a sentence slowly first with all the words separated. Then I'll say it at a natural, connected speed. Your job is just to listen for the difference. Ready? First slowly. Did you eat already? Now, naturally. Dija eat already? Did you hear that? Did you became Dija through assimilation? Eat and already linked together. Let's try repeating the natural version together. Dija eat already? Great. Let's try one more. Slowly first. What are you going to do? Now, at a natural speed. What you gonna do? Let's break that down. What are you becomes whatchy. Going to becomes gonna. An entire 6-word sentence is reduced to 3 fluid sound units. Let's practice saying it. What you gonna do? These transformations might seem incredibly difficult at first, but I promise you they are predictable patterns. Listening for them and repeating them every single day is one of the most effective ways to train your ear. You don't have to understand every single nuance at first. Just starting to recognize the existence of these patterns will give your brain a huge advantage in future conversations. It's like learning to see the individual brush strokes in a painting instead of just a blur of color. Now that we understand the why with more depth, let's move on to the how. What are the practical daily exercises you can do to build these skills? Here's a wonderfully effective exercise you can incorporate into your evening routine. Find a very short conversation clip, just 30 to 60 seconds, from a movie, a TV show, or a YouTube video with native speakers. First, listen to the entire clip one time without any subtitles. Don't panic if you don't understand much. Just try to catch the general topic or the emotion of the conversation. Are they happy? Are they arguing? Are they making plans? Just get the main idea. Then, listen to it a second time, but this time with English subtitles on. Now, here's the crucial part. Pause the video after every single sentence or even after every phrase. Your task is to repeat it out loud, but don't just say the words. Try to imitate the speaker exactly. Copy their tone of voice, their speed, their emotion, and most importantly, their rhythm and connected speech. Say it the way it sounds, not the way it's written. This practice is called shadowing, and it is one of the most powerful tools in language learning because it trains your listening and speaking skills simultaneously. It builds a physical connection in your brain between the sound you hear and the mouth movements required to produce that sound. It trains your mouth to move like a native speaker, and in doing so, trains your brain to anticipate and recognize those movements when you listen. We can actually break shadowing down into different levels of difficulty. If you're new to it, start with what I call mumbling shadowing. Play the audio and just try to copy the rhythm and intonation, the music of the language, without trying to form clear words. Just hum or mumble along. This takes the pressure off producing perfect words and allows you to focus 100% on the prosody. Once you're comfortable with that, you can move to phrase shadowing. Pause after each short phrase and repeat it. And finally, you can try full shadowing, which is speaking along with the speaker in real time, or with a tiny delay. This is very challenging, but incredibly rewarding. Let's try a more advanced shadowing practice right now. I'll play the part of two people in a short dialogue. I'll say a line, then I'll leave a pause for you to repeat it, trying to copy my exact tone and speed. Ready? Person A. Hey, did you get my message from this morning? Pause for you to repeat. Person B. Oh yeah, sorry, I've been swamped all day. What's up? Pause for you to repeat. Person A. No worries. I was just gonna see if you're still up for grabbing a bite later. Pause for you to repeat. Person B. I'd love to, but I'm not sure if I can get out of here on time. Pause for you to repeat. Notice the connections. Didja for did you, gonna see for going to see. Get out of here becomes get out of here. Practicing dialogues like this is especially effective. Remember, when you only read English, your eyes are leading your learning. But English is a language of sound. To master listening, your ears must take control. So you have to give them the daily workout they need. As you do this, you'll also start to notice all those common contractions and informal phrases that are everywhere in spoken English. Instead of, I do not know, you'll hear and practice saying, I don't know. Instead of, let me help you, you'll hear and practice, let me help you. These small, consistent changes accumulate over time, and they make a massive difference in how you perceive and process real-life English. And please, let me emphasize something incredibly important. Do not get discouraged if you can't understand or reproduce everything perfectly right away. That is not the goal. Even native speakers sometimes miss words or have to ask for clarification when someone speaks too quickly or unclearly. Your goal is not perfection, it is progress. Let's build on this idea of daily practice with another targeted exercise. I call this one the 1-minute rewind. The principle is simple. Intense focus on a very small amount of material. Again, pick a 1-minute video clip in English. For the first minute, just watch it once. No subtitles, to get the gist. Then rewind to the beginning. This time, your focus is on just the very first sentence. Listen to it. Did you catch every single word? If not, rewind just that one sentence and listen again, and again, and again. Listen to it 5 or 6 times if you have to. Once you feel you've caught as much as you can, pause and repeat it out loud. Then you can turn on the subtitles to check your accuracy. The key here is training your ear to work hard, to strain to catch those difficult, reduced, or connected sounds. 1 minute a day of this intense, focused practice might not seem like much, but if you do it consistently every single day for a month, the results will be astounding. Your ears will become more attuned to the nuances of spoken English, your brain's processing speed will increase, and your overall comprehension will deepen significantly. Now let's talk more about that real-world English, the kind you hear in a bustling cafe, on the vibrant streets of New York, in the dialogue of a gritty film, or when you're just chatting with native English-speaking friends. This English is rarely as polished or grammatically perfect as what you find in language courses. It's gloriously messy. It's filled with idioms, expressions, slang, and natural speech patterns that include pauses, hesitations like and and self-corrections. For example, you're much more likely to hear someone say, I'm gonna grab a bite to eat, instead of the more formal, I am going to get something to eat. You'll hear, I'm heading out, which simply means I'm leaving now. Or someone might say, "Hang on a sec," instead of "Please wait for a moment." These are the everyday phrases that form the backbone of casual conversation. They might not be in your textbook, but they are used constantly in real life, and the more you expose yourself to them, the less foreign and fast they will sound. To prepare your brain for this kind of authentic language, you need to immerse yourself in it. Try watching TV shows or reality shows where real unscripted conversations take place. Start with content that offers accurate English subtitles, and as you get more comfortable, challenge yourself by turning them off. You can also try listening to podcasts or audio clips while you're doing other daily tasks like cooking, cleaning, or commuting. This is called passive listening, and while it's not as focused as active practice, it helps your brain get used to the natural rhythm, cadence, and speed of spoken English. Immersing yourself in the sounds of real spoken English every single day will gradually, almost magically, adjust your ear to the true speed and rhythm of native speakers. Another highly effective, almost surgical method for improving your listening is a classic technique called dictation practice. It's like a workout for your ears, your brain, and your hand all at once. But today, I want to introduce you to a more advanced version of this, which I call sentence surgery. It goes beyond just writing down the words. It forces you to analyze the sentence like a linguist. Here's how it works. First, you do a normal dictation. Listen to one sentence 2 or 3 times and write down exactly what you hear. Then you check it against the transcript and correct your mistakes, but you don't stop there. Now you perform the surgery. Step 1. Take the correct sentence and identify all the content words, nouns, main verbs, adjectives, and all the function words, prepositions, articles, pronouns. You can underline the content words. Step 2. Go back and listen one more time, and this time mark the main stress in each thought group. Which words are the loudest and longest? Step 3. Now, look for the connections. Draw little curved lines connecting any words that are linked together. Step 4. Circle any reduced vowel sounds. Where do you hear the weak sound, the schwa? Step 5. Finally, cross out any sounds that were dropped completely through elision. Let's perform sentence surgery together on a complex sentence. Imagine you heard this and wrote it down. The sentence is, "I should have gotten it for him on Wednesday." Now, let's analyze it. In natural, fast speech, it would sound something like, "I should have gotten it for him on Wednesday." So, let's do the surgery. First, the content words are gotten, him, Wednesday. The function words are I, should, have, it, for, on. Second, the stress would likely fall on gotten and Wednesday. Third, the connections are everywhere. Gotten and it link to become gotten it. For and him link to become for him. Fourth, the reductions. Should have is reduced to should have. The O in for is reduced to a schwa for. Fifth, elision. The H in him is dropped, so it becomes em. The D in Wednesday is silent, so it's Wednesday. By performing this kind of detailed analysis on just 1 or 2 sentences a day, you are training your brain to notice these features at a micro level. It's a slow, deliberate practice, but it builds a deep, conscious understanding of the architecture of fast speech. Let's try a quick dictation example right now. Get your pen and paper ready. I am going to say a sentence at a natural conversational speed. I will say it twice. Your job is to write it down exactly as you hear it. Ready? Here is the sentence. I should have told you earlier. I'll repeat it one more time. I should have told you earlier. Okay, now take a look at what you've written. Did you write I should have told you earlier? If you did, that's what the sentence means, but it's probably not what you heard. What you likely heard was should have. Should have is almost always contracted into a single quick sound. Should have. Listen again. I should have told you earlier. This is a perfect example of a reduced form. Go ahead and say it out loud with me. I should have told you. That is the sound of real English. The more you practice hearing these sentences, writing them down, and analyzing the differences, the more automatic it will become to recognize them in a fast conversation. Now let's talk about a very powerful concept for processing language more efficiently: chunking. This is how native speakers listen, and it's a skill you can develop too. When we speak, we don't think in individual words. We think and speak in groups of words, or chunks. These chunks are common patterns, collocations, and phrases that often go together. For example, instead of hearing, how are you, as three separate words, a native speaker's brain processes it as a single unit of meaning. One sound, how are you? Instead of hearing, do you want to go? It's processed as two chunks. Do you wanna and go? These chunks are built from repeated exposure to common patterns and phrases. When your brain begins to recognize these chunks as complete, single units, your listening comprehension will take a quantum leap forward. Why? Because you will stop trying to translate word by word. The word-by-word approach is slow and mentally exhausting. By the time you've processed the first two words of a sentence, the speaker is already at the end. But when you can process an entire 3 or 4 word chunk in the same amount of time it used to take you to process one word, your brain works much faster and more efficiently. So how do you train your brain to recognize chunks? It's simple, but it requires consistency. You need to listen to the same types of phrases over and over again in different contexts. I want you to become a chunk hunter. When you listen to English, have your notebook ready. Your mission is to find and collect these chunks. Some common types of chunks are collocations, like heavy rain or make a decision. Phrasal verbs, like give up or run out of. Idioms, like bite the bullet. And common sentence starters, like by the way, or to be honest. When you hear one, pause the audio, write it down, and say it out loud 5 times to build the muscle memory. Soon you'll start to hear them automatically in fast speech, and they will act as signposts that help you navigate the conversation with much more ease. Let's explore another practice method that taps into a different part of your brain. I like to call this the listen and imagine method. This technique helps you follow fast English by creating mental pictures instead of focusing on every single word. The goal is to move from linguistic processing to experiential processing. For example, if you hear a native speaker say very quickly, "We grabbed some coffee and then headed downtown to catch a movie," you don't need to analyze every single word like grabbed or headed. Instead, you can simply picture it. In your mind's eye, imagine 2 friends getting coffee from a shop. Then, picture them walking through a city. Finally, see them entering a movie theater. This kind of mental visualization connects the language directly to a real or imagined experience. It dramatically improves your comprehension without needing to slow anything down. You stop translating words and you start experiencing ideas. This is precisely how native speakers understand each other. They aren't constantly analyzing grammar and vocabulary in their heads. They are processing concepts and images at high speed. You can practice this skill by listening to short dialogues or stories and actively trying to imagine the scene, the people, and the actions like a movie playing in your mind. It makes the language come alive and feel less like an academic subject. Let's do a short imagination practice right now. If you can, close your eyes for a moment. Just listen carefully to my voice and let the images form in your mind. Imagine this scene. She ran out of the house, slamming the wooden door behind her, jumped into the old blue car that was parked by the curb, and drove off down the street without saying a single word. Okay, you can open your eyes. Did you see it in your mind? You probably pictured the house, the color of the car, the emotion of the person. That's the goal. You may not have consciously registered every single syllable of every word, but you followed the meaning because you connected it to a rich mental picture. This skill is a superpower when listening to fast speakers. Instead of desperately trying to catch individual words, your mind can relax a little and focus on catching the overall meaning, the big picture. You can build this powerful skill with just 5 to 10 minutes a day of this kind of guided listening and visualization practice. At this point in our deep dive, it's absolutely crucial to talk about patience and mindset. Understanding fast, natural English is not a switch that you flip overnight. It is a gradual process, like a photograph slowly coming into focus. It takes time, and it is completely normal and okay if you don't understand everything right away. The most important thing is not to give up. Every single time you expose your ears to native English, even if you feel lost and only catch a few words, you are doing important work. You are training your ears. You are building new neural pathways in your brain. You are making progress. And progress, no matter how slow it feels, is real. Think of listening practice, like physical exercise. When you first go to the gym, you can't lift the heaviest weights, but you start with what you can handle, and you do it consistently. Over time, your muscles get stronger. Listening is the same. The more you do it, the stronger your listening muscles become. Remember, the goal is not to catch every single word. The goal is to catch more words today than you did yesterday. The goal is to feel a little less lost this week than you did last week. Celebrate those small victories. When you watch a scene from a movie and you understand a joke without needing the subtitles, that's a huge win. When you listen to a podcast and you can follow the main idea of a story, celebrate that. These small successes will provide the motivation you need to keep going on the days when it feels difficult. Let's continue to build your toolkit with another practice exercise that I call repeat after pause. This is a variation of shadowing that gives you a bit more time to process. Find a short video or audio clip, just a minute or two long. Play the very first sentence, and then immediately hit the pause button. Now in the silence, try to repeat exactly what you heard. Pay close attention to the pronunciation, the rhythm, and the intonation. Then play the next sentence, pause, and repeat again. Continue this process through the entire clip. This technique is fantastic because it trains your pronunciation, your understanding of rhythm, and your listening skills all at the same time. The more you practice imitating native speakers, the more fluent and natural your own speech becomes. And as your speech becomes more natural, your ears become better at recognizing those same natural patterns when other people speak. Even just 5 minutes a day dedicated to this repeat after pause method can create a massive improvement over time. As we move forward, I want to share a very helpful habit that all fluent English speakers, both native and non-native, use unconsciously. It's the practice of active listening. Active listening is fundamentally different from passive hearing. Passive hearing is when sound just enters your ears while you're thinking about something else. Active listening means you are fully engaged. You're not just hearing the words. You are trying to understand the meaning behind the words. You are paying close attention to the speaker's tone of voice, their emotions, and the subtle changes in their speed and volume. Native speakers often speak quickly, but they will instinctively slow down or raise their voice when they get to a word or phrase that is particularly important. For example, if someone says quickly, "I was thinking we could go, but I really don't want to go," the phrase "I really" will likely be stretched out and emphasized. That emphasis is a clue. It's a signal from the speaker that tells you their feeling is very strong. You don't need to understand every single word in that sentence to get the most important part of the message. You just have to listen actively for those clues. You can practice this by watching short dialogues or interviews and specifically noticing how people use their voices to express emotions like excitement, disappointment, or sarcasm. Soon you'll start catching the intended meaning, even when the language itself is fast and complex. Another powerful way to improve your comprehension is by building your background knowledge on a topic. This is a concept called context-based understanding. Let's imagine you are about to watch a video about making pizza. If you already know a little bit about cooking and you know the basic steps of making a pizza, it will be much easier for you to follow along even if the speaker is talking very quickly. Why? Because your brain is already primed. It expects to hear words like dough, flour, sauce, cheese, and oven. It can predict the logical sequence of the actions. This context allows your brain to fill in the blanks when you miss a word. So a great strategy is to choose listening material that is related to topics you are already familiar with or interested in. If you like technology, watch product reviews. If you love history, listen to history podcasts. If you enjoy fashion, watch videos from fashion influencers. Your brain will have a much easier time keeping up when the subject is familiar. This is a fantastic way to build both your listening confidence and your specific vocabulary at the same time. Let's do another small exercise right now to apply what we've just learned. I am going to describe a short scene in fast but natural English. I don't want you to worry about catching every word. Your only job is to listen for the main idea and build a picture in your mind. Here we go. So, I was running late for work this morning. Totally my fault. I spilled coffee all over my shirt, missed the bus by like 2 seconds, and had to call a rideshare just to make it to the big meeting on time. Now, pause for a moment. What happened in that story? You might not have caught every single detail, but you probably understood that the speaker had a rushed, chaotic, and stressful morning. And that is the goal. You successfully understood the message. Real-world communication is about understanding the core message, not about achieving a perfect transcription of every syllable. Let's now talk a little more about pronunciation, because your own pronunciation is deeply connected to your listening ability. Native speakers connect words together in ways that can feel very strange to learners who are used to seeing them written separately. As we discussed, "What do you want to eat?" becomes something like, "What do you want to eat?" Or, "Did you see it?" becomes, "Did you see it?" These connections are completely natural, but they make the sentence much harder to decode if you are expecting perfect word separation. A fantastic way to get used to this is to practice producing these connected speech patterns yourself. Try to say the phrases exactly how you hear them from native speakers. Say gonna instead of going to. Say wanna instead of want to. Say lemme instead of let me. This might feel very informal or even incorrect at first, but it's how English is actually spoken in most daily situations. Understanding and being able to produce connected speech is one of the fastest shortcuts to dramatically improving your listening comprehension. Another practice technique related to this is the echo method. This is a very active and fun way to practice. Play a short sentence or phrase from a native speaker, and then, as quickly as you can, try to repeat it with the exact same speed, rhythm, and energy, just like an echo. For example, if the original sentence is, "I can't believe he actually said that," your echo should come right after, with the same rising and falling tone and the same pace. This method helps your tongue, your jaw, and your brain get used to the physical feeling of producing English at a natural speed. At first, you will probably stumble and miss words, but after a few tries with the same sentence, you'll notice a significant improvement. This method not only helps you understand fast English better, but it also has the wonderful side effect of making your own spoken English sound much more natural and fluent. Now, let's address a big challenge that every learner faces as they progress: unfamiliar accents. It's important to remember that there is no single native English sound. There are countless accents. There are broad categories like American, British, and Australian, but even within those countries there are hundreds of different regional ways of speaking. Someone from Texas will sound very different from someone from Boston. Someone from London will sound very different from someone from Glasgow in Scotland. So how can you possibly train your ear for all of that variety? The key is deliberate, diverse exposure. Make an effort to listen to speakers from different English-speaking countries. Watch YouTube videos from British creators. Listen to an Australian podcast. Watch interviews with Irish actors. Listen to songs by Canadian artists. The goal is to help your brain become more flexible. You want to train it to stop expecting just one correct way of speaking English. The more accents you expose your ears to, the more adaptable your brain will become. That flexibility will allow you to feel more comfortable and understand people more easily no matter where they are from. Here's a short example using a very informal, casual American accent. Listen to this phrase. "Hey man, I'm heading out soon. You comin' or not?" Notice the dropped G sound at the end of headin' and comin'. This is very common in many American accents. Notice the casual phrases, "Hey man," and "you comin' or not." These are very common in friendly, informal conversations. Try repeating that phrase a few times, copying the casual tone. "Hey man, I'm headin' out soon. You comin' or not?" The more you listen to and repeat these little nuances of different accents, the more natural and understandable this kind of English will become to you. Now let's add a few more specific tips for when you are watching English movies or TV shows, as this is one of the best sources of authentic language. First, and I cannot stress this enough, Release the pressure to understand everything. It's okay if you only catch 50 or 60%. Start by watching with English subtitles. This allows you to connect the sounds you are hearing with the words on the screen. Try watching one specific scene first with the subtitles on. Then replay that same scene immediately, but this time without the subtitles. See how much more you can understand the second time around. Try pausing after each line of dialogue and repeating it out loud. You can even keep a notebook where you write down new and useful phrases that you hear. For example, you might be watching a movie and a character says, "We've got to hurry or we'll miss the train." You can pause and note that "we've got to" is a very common and natural way of saying "we have to." By actively looking for and collecting these small discoveries, you make yourself more comfortable with real-world English and you actively expand your listening vocabulary. Podcasts are another incredible resource, and I want to give you a complete guide to using them effectively. First, you need to choose the right podcast. There are podcasts made specifically for English learners, which are great when you're starting out. But to really master fast speech, you need to listen to podcasts made for native speakers. Start with genres that are easier to understand, like solo host narrative podcasts or storytelling shows, where one person is speaking clearly. Avoid chaotic interview shows with multiple people talking over each other until you feel more confident. Now, for the techniques. I want to teach you the looping technique. Find a short segment of a podcast, maybe just 15 to 30 seconds long, that you find difficult to understand. Using an app or software, put that short segment on a loop. Listen to it again and again, maybe 10 or 20 times in a row. It might sound strange, but this intense repetition works wonders. The first few times, it might just sound like noise. But as you continue to listen, your brain will start to pick out individual words, then phrases, and then the full meaning will start to emerge. It's an incredible feeling when a sentence finally clicks after the 10th listen. Another powerful strategy is to use the speed controls, but not just to slow things down. Try the speed ladder approach. Listen to a segment at 0.75x speed to catch the details. Then listen again at normal, 1x speed. Then, for a real challenge, listen to it at 1.1x or 1.2x speed for 1 minute. After that, when you switch back to the normal 1x speed, it will suddenly feel much slower and easier to understand. Next, let's explore how music and songs can be a secret weapon for boosting your English listening skills. Music is a fantastic and enjoyable tool for training your ears. Pick a song in English that you enjoy and find the lyrics online. First, just listen to the song 1 or 2 times without looking at the words. Try to get a feel for the melody and the general mood. Then, listen to it again, but this time, read the lyrics as you listen. This will help you catch words you might have missed before. Finally, and this is the most fun part, try singing along. This method helps you become intimately familiar with natural rhythm, intonation, and how words link and flow together in a poetic way. Many song lyrics use everyday language and common idioms. For instance, you will almost always hear a singer use gonna instead of going to, or wanna instead of want to. These details constantly reinforce how real people speak. And because music is inherently enjoyable and connected to emotion, your brain is much more likely to remember the language you learn from it. Let's do one more practice paragraph together. I am gonna say this at a natural, slightly quick pace. Your job is just to follow along and try to build that mental picture. Here we go. We were supposed to meet up at 7, but I got completely stuck in traffic on the freeway, and then I couldn't find parking anywhere near the restaurant. So I ended up getting there almost a whole hour late. That was a description of a fast-paced, real-life situation. Let's try to repeat it together. Try to copy my rhythm. We were supposed to meet up at 7, but I got stuck in traffic and then couldn't find parking. So I ended up getting there almost an hour late. If that feels too long to say at once, just break it down into the smaller chunks, just like we did. The more you repeat it, the more comfortable and easy it becomes. Now, let's talk about moving beyond dedicated practice sessions and start integrating English listening into the fabric of your daily life. The goal is to create an immersion environment for yourself, even if you don't live in an English-speaking country. Think about your daily routines. How can you inject a little bit of English listening into each one? For example, your morning routine. Instead of reading the news or listening to a podcast in your native language while you have your coffee, find a short daily English news briefing podcast. There are many that are just 5 to 10 minutes long. This starts your day with your brain already switched into English mode. What about your commute? Whether you're driving, walking, or taking public transport, this is a perfect opportunity to listen to an English podcast or an audiobook. What about when you're exercising? Instead of music, why not follow a workout video on YouTube led by a native English-speaking instructor? Or listen to an upbeat, motivational English podcast? How about when you're cooking dinner? Find a recipe on a cooking show on YouTube and follow along. The visual context of seeing the ingredients and the actions makes it much easier to understand the language, even when it's spoken quickly. By finding these small pockets of time throughout your day, you can accumulate a huge amount of listening practice without having to schedule a formal study session. As you get more serious about your practice, it's also incredibly helpful to set clear, specific goals. Just saying, "I want to improve my listening," is not a very effective goal. It's too vague. Instead, we should use the SMART goal framework. That means your goals should be specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. Let's compare a bad goal with a good SMART goal. A bad goal is, "I want to understand movies better." How do you measure that? A good SMART goal would be, "This month I will watch one 20-minute episode of the TV show Friends every week without subtitles. My goal is to use the looping technique on 3 difficult lines from each episode until I understand them. By the end of the month, I want to be able to write a 3-sentence summary of the episode's plot based only on my listening." See the difference? That goal is very specific. It's measurable. You either did it or you didn't. It's achievable. It's a reasonable amount of time. It's relevant to your overall goal, and it's time-bound this month. I encourage you to take some time after this lesson to write down 1 or 2 SMART listening goals for yourself for the next week. And finally, please remember this crucial point. Improving your listening skills isn't just about listening more. It's about listening better. It's about being intentional with your practice. Choose content that challenges you just a little bit, but not so much that you feel completely overwhelmed and discouraged. Set small, achievable daily or weekly goals. Maybe your goal is to listen to one 5-minute podcast episode each day. Or maybe it's to do 3-sentence surgery exercises each week. Whatever you choose, the key is consistency. True, lasting improvement comes from small, steady steps taken every single day, not from one giant leap you take once a month. Your ears will improve, your brain's processing speed will increase, and your understanding will get better. I want to end with a final thought. Learning to understand a new language at its natural speed is a lot like learning to appreciate a complex genre of music, like classical or jazz. The first time you listen, it might just sound like a confusing collection of noises. You can't find the melody, you don't understand the rhythm, but if you keep listening, something amazing happens. You start to hear the individual instruments. You begin to recognize recurring melodies and themes. You start to feel the emotion and the story within the music. Soon, what was once just noise becomes a rich, beautiful, and understandable experience. Your journey with fast English is the same. Right now, it might sound like noise, but I promise you, if you stick with it, if you use the techniques we've discussed today, and if you are patient and kind to yourself, you will start to hear the music. You will hear the patterns, the rhythms, and the meaning. And then, one day, you'll be in the middle of watching a movie or talking to someone, and you'll suddenly realize that you understand what they're saying without even trying so hard. That moment is waiting for you. So let's quickly review the powerful path we've mapped out today on your journey to understanding fast native English speakers. We have deconstructed the why behind fast speech, exploring connected speech, reduced forms, and the natural rhythm of English. We explored the neuroscience of listening, understanding the dance between bottom-up and top-down processing. We've equipped you with a full toolkit of practical how-to techniques, from basic shadowing to advanced sentence surgery and the podcast looping method. We've practiced together using imagination, repetition, and real-life examples. You've learned how to approach different accents and how to choose the right materials for your level. All of these are powerful tools that will continue to serve you long after this video ends. The only thing you need to do now is to commit to the process. Keep going. Make English a part of your daily life. Don't treat it just as a subject you study, but as a living language that you interact with and enjoy. The more time you spend immersed in its sounds, the more natural and familiar it will become. And soon, you won't just understand fast native English, you will truly enjoy it. So grab your notebook and go back through the exercises we discussed. Make a plan for your week. Set 1 or 2 SMART goals. Make sure you are repeating phrases in chunks. Listen daily to short, authentic conversations. And push yourself just a little bit outside your comfort zone every single day. With time and consistent effort, your ears will catch up, your brain will speed up, and your confidence will soar. Thank you so much for joining me for this in-depth masterclass here at English in Advance. I hope you learned something valuable today and that you feel more motivated and empowered to improve your English listening. If you found this lesson helpful, please don't forget to give it a like. Share it with a friend who might need it. And of course, subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you never miss another one of our daily episodes. This is Jessica, your host, signing off for now. Keep practicing, keep listening, and remember, English fluency is just one conversation away. I'll see you in the next lesson.